England is well known for many things. The royal family, the Beatles, Harry Potter, but most importantly, the English breakfast. And if there's one thing that makes Americans screech, it's communism. Joking, it's baked beans for breakfast. The whole rest of the world probably screeches at the thought of this as well. But to start off with, we're not just going to focus on English breakfast, but instead a meal that you can have for breakfast, for lunch, and for tea. I'm from the north of England, so we say tea instead of dinner, but let's not get into that. Of course, I'm talking about beans on toast, something that is embedded in our culture and is well loved by the nation. In this video, we're going to cover the history of beans on toast and also look at British food and a little bit of the culture as a whole. I'm trying to focus mainly on England because Scotland, Wales do I guess have their own signature foods and stuff, but honestly everything will sort of become interlinked. So the history of beans on toast is a little ropey. Heinz claims that an executive invented the dish as a marketing ploy in 1927, but this is doubtful. That's a point as well, we're talking about beans in tomato sauce here, like Heinz beans or similar, just to avoid any confusion. Even if it was a marketing ploy, one of the main reasons it's been able to stand the test of time is because it's a cheap meal that's nutritious and full of protein. It was commonly eaten during World War II when there was rations for this very same reason. Nowadays, it's especially popular with the struggling uni student, or just honestly when you fancy something quick and simple. Here's a crazy statistic as well. An estimated 23% of British people eat beans at least once a week. In the late 1800s, beans were considered a luxury item and were sold exclusively to Fortnum and Mason, which is an upmarket department store in London. A bit further down the line though, they began to get sold by door-to-door salesmen, and the popularity began to soar. Now, Heinz baked beans were manufactured in the USA. Their nickname was actually Pittsburgh American beans, so they were constantly importing them to the UK. So Heinz decided to open a factory in Peckham, then Harlesden, and then Wigan. So how do you make beans on toast? Well, you just toast the toast, heat your beans in the microwave or on the hob, and add them to your toast, obviously. Most sane people would butter their toast first. Some people add grated cheese on top. Some people add sauce like mustard or brown sauce. A lot of people also have beans on a jacket potato. It can be eaten for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Obviously, an English breakfast comes with beans and toast normally, so you can just add them together. Don't assume English people have an English breakfast every morning, because no one's got that type of time on their hands. I'll only have a full English now and then if I was going out for breakfast, or if I was staying at a hotel or something. Another common thing for breakfast though, is a sausage or bacon butty. Other names, sausage or bacon bap, among many others. Basically a sausage or bacon sandwich is what I'm talking about here. I assume you have this in the rest of the world. I mean, it's just sausage and bacon and bread. But do you have it for breakfast? Let me know. And we also have chip butties here as well. As mentioned before, beans are fairly nutritious, or at least that's what we're told. I mean, they do contain salt and sugar, but they're a good source of protein and are really high in fibre as well. They're also one of your 5 a day. It says it right on the tin. Now, a lot of you people are probably still like, what the f***? And I mean, I do get it. Wars could have started over this. I think it's a common misconception that England has bad food, although I do agree that some stuff really is an acquired taste. There's some things you are missing out on though, like Yorkshire puddings. It's like a baked battered pudding that's made from batter of eggs, flour and milk or water. It's a common side dish with a roast dinner, so you can have it with gravy or mash or something like that. Of course, we also have fish and chips. We've got a big takeaway culture as well. A lot of Chinese takeaways and Indian takeaways, which are my personal favourite. To be honest, ironically, I do think the best food in the UK is the Indian takeaways. I think I'll do a separate video on the takeaways though. Like the chicken tikka masala, for example, was invented in Scotland. So we'll possibly do a bigger video on this stuff. As mentioned before, I'm from the north of England, and the north of England is famous for loving gravy. Gravy on everything. Gravy on chips is a good one. Some people, in my opinion, do take this too far though, and they have chips, cheese, and gravy. And some people even add sauce to this as well. It's too much, man. I mean, if you come to the UK on vacation or whatever, the reality is there's a lot of the same restaurant chains you probably have back home. You know, there's obviously, you can get Italian food, Thai food, Mexican food, and all that stuff. You're not going to be stuck for what to eat, and you're certainly not going to have to just eat weird British food. A lot of pubs have really good food as well, but listen, I am guilty of being one of those people that usually just gets a burger. And there's loads of good burger places here as well. There's also a very famous bakery chain here, which you'll see everywhere you go, and it's another part of British culture. This place, of course, is Greggs. They do all sorts, sausage rolls, the famous vegan sausage roll.
I've also eaten vegan sausage rolls.
Pizza, pasties. They even do a sausage, cheese and baked bean pasty. Another big part of British culture as well is Wetherspoons. It's hard to explain, but it's a pub chain. Everyone calls it Spoons. They're everywhere, they're in every town, every city, and they're super popular because they're cheap. They serve mediocre food, but I mean it's alright. It's open all day. Most people will go there in the daytime or for pre-drinks. Maybe you go at night for a chilled one, before you inevitably end up in town. It's like McDonald's for booze is probably the best way to explain it. Also, the plates all look like this, and the carpets usually look something like this. There's 826 Spoons locations around the UK. Spoons and Greggs are your bucket list items if you were to visit the UK. We also have a variety of crisp or potato chip flavours, if you're American. I've been a fair few places and there's some flavours I've not seen anywhere else, but let me know if you have these in your country. So there's pickled onion crisp, pickled onion monster munch, are pretty elite. Cheese and onion is a big one. Salt and vinegar is really good. Flame grilled steak, sweet chili, roast chicken, bacon, Worcestershire sauce, this one, which is amazing, and probably my favourite prawn cocktail. Also, you may have noticed our Lay's is called Walkers, because they were bought by PepsiCo, but they kept the Walkers name. They're called Smiths in Australia, Chipsy in Egypt, Tapu Chips in Israel, Margarita in Colombia, and Sabrina's in Mexico. Another famous snack that we have is the pot noodle. Again, they're super cheap, very good when you're low on cash. I'm not going to sit here and say they're amazing. Some flavours are better than others, but I do feel like I've hit a new low point whenever I have one. We've also got pork pies, Scotch eggs, Jaffa cakes, which are insane, all kind of biscuits actually. I mean, I could make a whole video about the biscuits. Maybe I can see in hindsight why a lot of people think the food is pretty boring, but I do think it's alright. I've been to America many times. Yeah, the food is crazy. I've been to Mexico where the food is insane. Thailand's great, Japan, and they've also got some really crazy snacks. Anywhere with a 7-Eleven has great snacks. Oh my god, I almost forgot Mr. Kipling Bakewell Tarts. That's god tier British snack. So there's something I tried in America when I was a kid that I think is insane, and when I tell people about it in the UK, it gets the same reaction as beans and toast probably would to an American. I've actually been to America a few times since, and I've not seen it again. Maybe I've seen it once in a restaurant in the UK, but rare occasion. But what I'm talking about is a Coke float. You can also get root beer floats, but to me, a Coke float is a winner. It's also called an ice cream float, or a spider in Australia and New Zealand. It's essentially a glass of Coke with a dollop of vanilla ice cream added, and it's so good. I do think root beer floats are more popular, and I have tried that, they're great as well, but ice cream floats in general, I think that's one thing the UK is missing out on. People might have heard of spotted dick, but I mean, I've never had that. Our McDonald's isn't very exciting, it's pretty normal to other countries from my experience. You just have to avoid the chavs that are going to be sitting opposite and try not to get stabbed. That's a joke, of course. I can do another video on chavs. They've actually evolved now into wannabe roadmen. Watched Top Boy once. I've mentioned a few different video ideas as I've gone here. Let me know if you enjoyed the video, and maybe we can do more. Bit of a different video, but we are NuCulture, and this is about culture after all. So I hope this has given you a little bit of an insight into some of our foods. Thanks for watching. We've got loads of interesting videos on our channel, So please check them out and don't forget to subscribe. Good night.